What a game, what a game. We saw everything in this game. We saw a fight between players. We saw a tactical clash as well. We saw red cards. We saw everything. But let me send this message. This Clásico reminds me of Jose Mourinho's days and Pep Guardiola, when both teams used to get out of the context. Let me say this, that both teams should have respect for each other and they should focus on the pitch more than outside the pitch. Message is delivered, and now let's get into the tactical talk. This game started with a high intensity. From the get-go, we saw that Real Madrid tried to score, but they weren't able to. And Real Madrid counted on and mid-block and vertical progression. However, Barcelona counted on circulating the ball through the double pivot and control the rhythm, but they weren't able to do in the first half. The reason behind this failed attempt to hold the position was because Real Madrid's compact defensive line were very narrowed and they weren't leaving any gaps. That's why the access for Jong and Pedri in those spaces were denied. On the tactical board, we're gonna explain both teams' formation and how they played. On the red chips would represent Barcelona, and the blue chips would represent Real Madrid. So Barcelona started the formation with 4-2-3-1 as always. With the back defensive line, started with Coparsi alongside with Garcia. And here I'm gonna stop for a sec. I mentioned in the episode before the Clásico, if Garcia plays, Barcelona is gonna concede more than 2 goals. And it happened in this game, not because the Capitano was smart or anything. This is an obvious mistake that Hansi Flick kept doing in the past games. That Eric Garcia struggles against high-paced teams, especially against players like Vinicius and Mbappe, and we saw that happen today. Especially that Garcia, yes, he's an average defender. He's not like Araujo and Coparsi. Yes, they are not the best, but they have better quality in defending than Garcia. And as well, we saw that when Araujo came in, that he gave a better structure in the defending side. And we saw that he was able to recover the ball, even when he was playing against Mbappe one-on-one. On the right side, he played with Koundé, and on the left side, played with Lamine Yamal. And as a double pivot, he played with Pedri and Jong, as well as in the front, Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez, Rashford, and right in front of them, Ferran Torres, who came back from injury. So Hansi Flick with this formation intended to play with short passes through the central and using De Jong dropping between the defenders to link up with them and push Baldi and Kondi right up. We saw that Carreras and Valverde, they did an amazing job with this, as well as the wingers who played today as winger, Bellingham, and sometimes we would see that Camavinga played as a right winger, only to stop Baldi from progressing to the front. Xabi Alonso played with as a double pivot. He played with Militao and Huijsens. These two players were very crucial in this game. We saw the solidity that they provided, and as well as building up from the back. As a right back played Valverde and Carreras, one of the best players in this game. He actually stopped Lamine Yamal like he did last season when he was with Benfica. In the central midfield, he played with Tchouaméni and Camavinga, as we expected yesterday that Arda Güler cannot play as a double pivot. The reason behind that, because Camavinga is a little bit better in the defending side. But the other thing we saw that sometimes Xabi Alonso would play with 4-1-4-1. We would leave Tchouaméni alone, and Camavinga would play as a right winger. The purpose behind this is stopping Baldi from progressing, and Camavinga is really good with the high press. So Xabi Alonso in this game had more than one formation during the game. The reason behind that is to have a compact spine, to deny access to the ball for De Jong and Pedri to control the rhythm. On the tactical board, we saw some of the formation that both coaches tried to implement in this game, and now we're gonna go more about describing the game tactically and what happened during the game. So from the get-go, in the first 22 minutes, we saw that, as I mentioned earlier, Real Madrid tried to cover the wings and isolate Lamine Yamal and Rashford. But we saw some movements from Rashford and as well as Lamine Yamal, but Lamine wasn't the best today. He was actually one of the worst players in this game. And as well as we saw that Real Madrid tried to split and make huge gaps between Barcelona's players. We didn't see them close to each other. As well as we saw that Real Madrid had a couple of attempts. They scored few goals. They were offside. However, Mbappe was able to score the first goal in minute 22 after an amazing pass from Jude Bellingham. Illustrates one thing about the defensive line of Barcelona. We saw that the gaps between the defensive line between Koparsi and Garcia, as well as Koundé. Nobody pressed Bellingham. We saw that he gave the ball without any pressure. After the goal, Real Madrid controlled the tempo and managed the game. They held position, and as well as they had a couple more attempts. I don't know, in this game I saw Real Madrid more aggressive, especially during the attack, and they are more organized. I would give a clap to Xabi Alonso, who prepared his team for this game. We saw that the spirit that they were playing, the hunger for the winning, and actually that what was lacking from Barcelona's side. However, before the ending the first half, the only one right thing that Barcelona did in this first half was when they scored the goal. How did that come? That came when Pedri pressed Arda Güler lost the ball. And here we understand why Hansi Flick loves to play with a high press. Because high press makes the opponent nervous and gives you the chance to score faster. After the high press from Pedri gave it to Rashford to Fermin Lopez, and Fermin Lopez to the net. That's the only good thing that Barcelona's player did in this first half. However, Madrid didn't wait for too long. They gained their confidence back right away, and they tried again, especially with Vinicius Jr. in the first half. He was on fire, attempting, trying to create some gaps, and we saw that resulted with another goal from Bellingham. Bellingham, he's always at the right place at the right time. This guy, with his celebration, he gave Real Madrid the lead again. And that's how it ended the first half. In the second half, Real Madrid started with more energy. They were trying to score the third goal. It feels like they were taking revenge from the last season. And we saw that they targeted Koundé's side. I know why. Let me tell you this. Maybe you'll say, Capitano, you're exaggerating about Araujo. Yes, Araujo, he's the main reason. Because Xabi Alonso knows that Garcia is not that strong, especially, and Koundé, he's not in his best shape these days. So what used to happen, whenever Araujo was playing behind Koundé, you would see him covering him better. And we know that Araujo is physical and aggressive. And most players consider his existence. I was actually demanding that Araujo starts up the game. But unfortunately that didn't happen. We saw how Vinicius utilized this aspect. And from this target, they had a penalty. So they got the penalty. And they had the chance to score the third goal. But Chesney was there. Chesney, who came after retirement. He was there to save Barcelona from the third goal. But this save clearly wasn't enough. Barcelona, after this penalty, I thought that they would get better. They would have the ambition to score the equalizer, but that didn't happen. I totally understand why. Because Barcelona, they have too many players who weren't on the squad. And seeing the bench, I was like, who can Hansi Flick bring in and change the result? But going back, there wasn't any player. Probably Rooney Bardakji. He's the best player in the bench that can make a difference. But other than him, there wasn't any other player. After that, we saw that Xabi Alonso did some substitutions, bringing in Carvajal and Rodrigo. Yes, we saw that Vinicius was mad. And to be honest, in this game, I give him the right, but not behave like this. But no, you don't have to react like this publicly. Because at the end of the day, this is your coach. And you gotta give respect to your coach. Yes, he performed really well in this game. But at the end of the day, respect has to be there. And to be honest, I want to give a clap to Xabi Alonso, because in this game he managed it really well and they could have won more than 2-1. And Hansi Flick, can I blame him tactically? Yes, but at the end of the day we have to take a step back and look at Barcelona's squad. To be honest, Barcelona had so many players who were injured, and the lack of summer transfer market didn't strengthen the squad as well. So we have to think about it. Yes, Hansi Flick is being in certain places tactically, but at the end of the day, this is the squad he has, and he has to deal with it. Real Madrid didn't steal the win. They deserved it. They took it from Barcelona. And at the end of the video, I want to congratulate every Real Madrid's fan. And I would say hard luck to every Barcelona's fan. At the end of the video, I want to know your thoughts about this Clásico in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And peace!